10 bizarre finds and projects involving bacteria. Size truly doesn't make any difference. Imperceptible bits of microscopic organisms hold the ability to put humankind out to the elimination field. In the tranquil interim and dormant to the side, researchers have another adoration-illicit relationship with the minuscule living beings. A great deal of ongoing investigations found that microbes have a bizarre ability for delivering clean energy, gold, and quantum secrets. However, that isn't all. They turn up in upsetting spots, do the unforeseen, and are sufficiently versatile to converge with innovation and live. Number 10. New ocean food source. A recent report on remote ocean microscopic organisms yielded sudden shocks. Found in the Clarion-Clipperton Fracture Zone, CCFZ, the critters lived around 4,000 meters, 13,000 feet, down. At this profundity, it was accepted that the solitary food accessible came from whatever descended upon the ocean bottom: dead fish, microscopic fish, and other natural matter. Dissimilar to what researchers found in the North Atlantic Ocean, microbes in this piece of the eastern Pacific Ocean were the fundamental gathering that burned through this downpour and not base-dwelling creatures. The microscopic organisms additionally ingested tremendous measures of carbon dioxide into their biomass, utilizing an interaction that researchers actually don't comprehend. However astounding as this specific revelation might have been, the ramifications came to farther than peculiar substantial capacities. This biomass is likely nourishment for remote ocean life where no extra sources were thought to exist. Incredibly, this implies that destructive CO2 is taken out and transformed into food. Estimations establish that the microorganisms could run the whole area of the CCFZ and perhaps reuse 200 million tons of CO2 consistently. Number 9. Source of clean energy. Family sewage and wastewater from mechanical plants are rich influence sources. They contain the essential natural mixtures to deliver clean energy. Notwithstanding, no one could think of an extraction strategy that was powerful and economical. Enter purple microbes. In 2018, the phototropic creatures, which draw energy from light, were utilized interestingly to reuse squander. Not at all like water treatment plants, the microorganisms worked with light, had zero fossil fuel byproducts, and were additionally moderate. This harmless to the ecosystem biorefinery recuperates near 100% of carbon, regardless of the sort of natural waste. Moreover, the cycle makes hydrogen gas, ideal for power needs. The mystery was the microbes' digestion. To begin with, they utilize natural atoms and not CO2 and H2O. That makes natural waste an ideal source to feed on. Carbon, nitrogen, and electrons are completely extricated for photosynthesis. Results differed, however. Proteins, hydrogen gas, and biodegradable polyester have all been created. Scientists have additionally figured out how to accelerate the taking care of the cycle by sending an electrical flow through the purple microorganisms, which are creatures loaded up with metabolic electrons. Number 8. The Titanic's doom. The notorious RMS Titanic sank in 1912. She stayed missing for more than 70 years until the disaster area was discovered 530 kilometers, 329 miles, southeast of Newfoundland, Canada. In 2010, an Endeavour got back to the surface with a demoralizing bug. While exploring the Titanic, analysts gathered up other types of microorganisms. Hallman's Titanic was named out of appreciation for the boat, an amusing move as the microorganisms were burning through the Titanic. Titanic loves rust. That is essentially the thing the boat is doing, rusting all over and giving the minuscule metal wreckers a truly amazing smorgasbord. The delicate symbol lays on the ocean bottom, over 3.8 kilometers, 2.4 miles, beneath the surface, and can't be brought back up. The fast breaking down likewise makes protection an unimaginable assignment. The addition to the side is that the new microorganisms' voracious craving for rust can be utilized to discard undesirable boats and sea structures like oil fixes, just as to create antibacterial coatings for working gear. Tragically, researchers gauge that the Titanic could be gone in around 20 years. Number 7. Brain bacteria. The mind is viewed as a sterile organ. Specialists realize that when microscopic organisms look from between the folds in neurons, it is an indication of illness. In 2018, researchers inspected 34 cerebrum tests. The first design was to contrast the minds of schizophrenia patients with those of individuals who had never experienced the condition. All things being equal, the high-goal pictures continued to appear in strange bars all over the place. This inadvertent revelation ended up being microorganisms. In the event that the living beings were by one way or another local to the cerebrum, it would consume the book on nervous system science. Specialists needed to ensure that the cerebrums were solid and hence track down no indication of bacterial infection. This left the chance of posthumous pollution. Tests followed on uncontaminated mouse minds, which uncovered that microbes grouped in similar areas as those found in the human examples. DNA examination gave a strong hint the organisms were firmicutes, proteobacteria, and bacteroidetes, types ordinarily found in the human gut. The gut-mind interface is notable to science, yet at no other time has an immediate association been made. All things being equal, the reason for the mind microorganisms stays an enigma. Number 6. Epic nose battles. Inside the noses of mice live microscopic organisms called Streptococcus pneumoniae. Generally, the bugs are innocuous, however they can trigger deadly pneumonia and meningitis, an activity that additionally murders the bacteria. To comprehend why S. pneumoniae would end it all, researchers inspected the nasal sections of mice and tracked down that this bacterium was by all account not the only species that adored the soggy climate. Now and then, Haemophilus influenzae attempts to muscle in. The two species disdain one another, and the second they meet, a conflict breaks out. H. influenzae seizes the host's resistant framework to assault its rival with white platelets. This procedure is splendid to the point that S. pneumoniae is here and there totally eliminated from the nose. Be that as it may, when the last retaliates, things turn out badly for the host. S. pneumoniae has a sweet shell, a defensive layer that comes in 90 assortments. The more grounded types can warn grayish platelets, attack the body's insusceptible framework and tissues, and at last reason illness. Without a doubt, the human nose has comparable contentions, implying that most ailments are not assaults on the individual however a terrible symptom of microorganisms attempting to obliterate one another. Number 5. Electric mushrooms. In 2018, a New Jersey research center needed to make an environmentally friendly power source. Researchers directed their concentration toward the basic catch mushroom, a copious parasite. Different fixings included cyanobacteria and carbon molecules. The last framed anodes made of slender sheets of graphene nanoribbons, GNRs. The mushrooms, living beings, and molecules were not picked aimlessly. The microorganisms make photosynthetic energy, and GNRs direct electrical flows. The mushrooms gave a common habitat to the microbes, including dampness and supplements, something no counterfeit surface could coordinate. To make this advantageous relationship, 3D printing was utilized to implant the GNRs and the microorganisms on the mushroom. The analysis was fruitful. The various examples of the carbon iotas and the microorganisms permitted the two to connect as a steady organization. At the point when light was shown on the mushroom, the life form stirred up an electric flow which was led by the GNRs into wires standing by to reap the power. Right now, the mushrooms can just create a frill current. Future changes, notwithstanding, guarantee bionic growths that are incredible, ample, and a green wellspring of energy. Number 4. Increasing risk of plague. The bubonic plague was wrecking to such an extent that a set of experiences would wind up considering it the Black Death. Across the 14th and 1500s of years, the dangerous microscopic organisms slaughtered up to 200 million individuals in Europe. Today, researchers are progressively stressed that an Earth-wide temperature boost could cause another flare-up. This isn't pretty much as insane as it sounds. Permafrost harbors microorganisms inconclusively, remembering a portion of the most noticeably terrible infections for the planet. At the point when the frozen microbes defrost, They are delivered into the climate with destructive impact. This turned into a disastrous reality in 2016 when softening ice delivered Bacillus anthracis in Siberia. The occasion contaminated more than 40 individuals, executed a kid, and cleared out 1,500 reindeer. The Paris Agreement, a worldwide natural drive, has pledged to keep the ascending of the world's temperature under 1.5 Celsius degrees, 2.7 degrees Fahrenheit. Notwithstanding, a few researchers accept that the arrangement can't be respected. The ramifications are terrifying. At the point when the Black Plague started during the 1340s, the world's warmth encountered a 1.5 Celsius degree, 2.7 degrees Fahrenheit, rise which caused the deadly Yersinia pestis bacterium to sprout. Should this happen once more, the conditioning permafrost could deliver worldwide pandemics, and not simply the Black Death. 3 living tattoos. In 2017, MIT picked bacterial cells for a 3D printing project. It prompted quite possibly the most charming creations at any point to include microorganisms' living tattoos. The outcome took after a stick-on picture of a tree or the expanded lines of electronic pathways. Bacterial cells were picked in light of the fact that they were harder than those of warm-blooded animals and could endure the printing cycle. They likewise turned out to be viable with hydrogels, something needed to make the tattoo. To begin with, the microscopic organisms were designed to transform into various fluorescent tones. The following stage was to build up an ink that contained hydrogel, the cells, and supplements to keep them alive. The liquid was sufficiently sensitive to be utilized in high-goal printing of 0.03 mm. The scientists drew the tree design on an elastomer. At that point the sheet was set on a volunteer's skin that had recently been treated with synthetic substances. As they had been designed to do, the microorganisms lit up and transformed noticeable once they came into contact with the mixtures. An inaccessible expectation is to one day produce wearable fixes that deliver medication, like glucose, into a patient's body throughout some stretch of time. Number 2. They produce solid gold. Cupriovidus mediterans are a not animal type. It snacks on harmful metals and crafts gold. Found in 2009, researchers needed to stand by until 2018 to settle this speculative chemistry question. In contrast to most other natural creatures, sea mediterans flourish in soil loaded with toxic weighty metals. 2 films encompass the microbes. In the middle there exists a space called the periplasm, and it acts like a detox chamber. Typically, the periplasm stores abundant copper. This metal is required for the microbes taking care of interaction, yet a lot of them can execute it. The new examination tracked down that an exceptional compound securely consigned pointless copper into the periplasm. Gold is a more terrible risk. At the point when the microbes come into contact with gold particles, a precarious adaptation of the valuable metal, they hazard genuine harm. The particles can upset the copper detox framework. Strikingly, specialists tracked down that the microscopic organisms built up a subsequent chemical, copper, to manage this. Copper transforms the particles into a steady metal inside the periplasm. When the last is full, the external layer tears and little gold pieces are delivered, now and then as large as sand grains. Number 1. They touch the quantum world. In 2018, researchers needed to know where the quantum world finished and the genuine world started. Quantum material science oversees imperceptibly minuscule things like particles. The rest, similar to people and microbes, have a place with the opposite side. Generally, it is accepted that quantum impacts diminish to nothing as they get over into the bigger world. To demonstrate that this was not the situation, scientists had one more gander at an analysis done in 2016 at the University of Sheffield. During the test, microorganisms were put inside a room of mirrors and exposed to an uncommon light recurrence. A couple of organic entities showed quantum impacts by showing a restricted association between their photosynthetic atoms and the light's electrons. This state is known as quantum coupling. As per the 2018 survey, the microorganisms may have shown improvement over the Sheffield study recommended. New trials yielded positive outcomes for ensnarement, a significant quantum impact at no other time found in living creatures. 10. Entanglement is the secretive capacity shared by two substances when they interface up their states regardless of being isolated by mind-blowing distances. A fascinating chance is that microscopic organisms have developed to mix with the quantum world to receive obscure rewards.